I think Jonas is giving himself the best chance possible. I think this is the best inbound Jonas into the Tour de France. Granted, we still are a month out. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to recover. He's got to polish it off. But this is you look at the past few years. This is the best. This is the best he's been. This is the best we've seen him over the past few years, and not just from a physiological level, but also from a place of calm, a place of peace, a place of knowing his role in the sport, finding why he's riding and what means something to him.
I'm putting Paul, I mean, I don't think this is crazy, but at the same time, as I hear myself say it, I think it's crazy that I'm giving, okay. If I'm crazy, just call me out, man. I'm thinking Paul is like a strong guy to be second place to Tadej at this point in time. Is that nuts?
Welcome back to Beyond the Podium. We're into the month of June, and that means the men's Giro d'Italia just wrapped up. Women's Giro still underway, but we've got lots to unpack and review from the big 3 weeks of racing in Italy. What did we learn? What does that mean for the Giro? And specifically, what does that mean for the big rendezvous at the Tour de France coming up still in July? With me to do all of that and more, Christian Vande. Christian, good to see you, man. Nice to link up back here on Beyond the Podium. I think you've been globe-trotting and jet-setting all around the world. I saw you up in New York City, living the flash life up there. So it looks like you're back down in South Carolina. Glad to see you back. How was the trip up to New York?
It was great, man. The city's on fire. I had an absolute blast up there. And actually, previously to this conversation we're going to have here, one of the questions in Peloton before we kicked off one of the rides was, who's going to win the Tour de France, Tadej or Jonas? And I just looked at him. I said, And he put his head down. He's like, yeah, I know. And so, I mean, that's always the conversation, no matter where you are in the world, and especially at this time of the year. We got the ramp up going into the Giro just folded just yesterday, and now we're looking to the Tour de France, especially in the States, right? There's the one race, and for a cyclist, did you do the Tour de France? Are you a real cyclist? Well, that's pretty much the only race they know. This guy who asked me that question probably didn't even realize the Giro was finishing that day when he asked it. So yeah, it's all the focus that is it truly, let's be honest, Brent, it's a top step. There's nothing close to it. We're going to talk about what happened in the Giro. Well, Giro's always great. I love the Giro. There's no shade on the Giro, but there's only one tour.
Yeah, absolutely, Christian. I was thinking the same, watching the Giro the past few weeks and thinking, man, I did love riding this Grand Tour. I loved the passion of the Italian fans, the mountains, the Dolomites, especially that Queen stage, that Sepp Kuss one that we'll get into in a second, but just the breathtaking scenery, just a bike rider's paradise. And the Giro just screams pure bicycling and bike racing to me, whereas the Tour is like something else off on another planet of like a grand phenomena beyond the sport of cycling. But so much good bike racing we just had to unpack at the Giro d'Italia, and we can't go through all of it because it was 21 days. I don't know about you. I caught a lot of it. I've had a broken wrist, so I've been a little slowed down and a little more bike racing to watch, and so I'm not riding my bike, unfortunately. But it was a good race to watch. And Jonas Vingegaard, we got to start on the top of the result sheet. Jonas Vingegaard coming out with the goods, the much anticipated program change for Jonas. He said he wanted to add the Giro d'Italia to his palmarès, becoming one of the few riders in history to win all three, and really executed and performed flawlessly. And we can talk about his competitors as something else, and the course and what that means for the Tour as something else. But first, give credit where credit's due. Visma Lease bike, Jonas Vingegaard, just true perfection. Bucket of stage wins, winning in pink, winning in his jersey. And honestly, like the entire time I watched him, he never once looked to be off a step, missing a step, back. Like the couple of visuals I have in my head of Tadej taking it to Jonas at the Tour, where he's kind of starting to come apart at the end and really pouring his heart and soul onto the pavement to not hemorrhage another second. I didn't see that Jonas at all. He never got brought to that level. So just a real confident, emphatic win, and one for the record books too. Like we talk about history and greatest of all time, this and that all the time these days, but let's also give some credit to that. This doesn't come around all the time where we've got another champion in the triple Grand Tour club.
No, that's a great point, Brandon. Yeah, you always have to. A win is a win, especially this day and age, especially for a grand tour. It's not a layup. No matter who you are, or where you are, the Giro is hard. The things happen. I think there was one point in time that he did say that he had gotten over. So after he was feeling good again, he said, "Okay, I was sick. Yes, that's true. I wasn't as sharp as I was." So that was the one time where he wasn't just tomahawk slam dunking those guys in the mountains for a little bit. That's when Gall was a little bit closer to him, but I think the only thing that truly matters is usually, especially you're going for 2 Grand Tours in 1 year, is how you are in that last week and how you're coming out of the Grand Tour. And if you're feeling like you're still on that upslope or you're feeling like you're on plane like a boat, then you're good. It's the guys who are falling apart at the end, just being able to keep it together in that Saturday stage. And thank God it's a flat sprint stage on Sunday, and go home and put your feet up for a week and a half. So, if we're going to talk about what Jonas, the biggest question was he going to have to struggle? Was he going to have to really push himself, like he just said? And I agree with you. I don't think that he was ever under the pump at all. And if you look at Felix, how good he was in that first 10, 11 days versus where he was at the end, he wasn't as good. Either he got a little bit worse or Jonas got better. I don't know which one that is. I think by the numbers, Jonas was pretty standard throughout, and he didn't really have to go too crazy, even though again, to your point, you have to give credit where credit is due. He went from distance quite a few times, maybe just to give himself, that momentum, that confidence, give himself a team. So I think if anything else, so let's take away all of what he's saying, because there is a little bit of a magic sauce on there saying that you're better in your second tour. There's a lot of variables that go into it. Let's be honest there. But the one variable that is true is confidence. And if you have confidence, you're going home and you're excited to get on your bike again. You're excited to make those sacrifices. You can't wait to get to July because you got that, you have that momentum behind you. I think that's a variable that we definitely need to talk about and is deserving of talking about. Everything else, I think there's so much nuance involved. Like, yeah, anything could happen, man. Of course, but is Tadej training? He's probably training at home. We just saw Paul Sexas break the record up Vande yesterday on a training ride, bro. I think by 30 some seconds in training. I mean, that's insane.
It's going to be, all sorts of good data points to hype us for the tour. And it's going to be, I think, one for the ages for sure. But going back to Jonas, I like the mention of confidence, and even, referencing that to Jonas and the mode we've seen him at the Tour de France in recent years. I got a lot of really strong self-belief out of Jonas. Like he truly did and does always genuinely believe in himself, his abilities, the strengths and qualities he brings and his team brings, unique to him and that squad, as he really believes their strengths. But the confidence sort of being the amplified version of self-belief, where we also have this hard evidence to also grab a hold of, tap back on, sit on, sink our teeth into. The Giro is absolutely that for him. And it never, whether he was sick or not, or what that was, it never was really tested. It never wavered. It was really just kind of unwavering, just cumulative building and building and building. And I like it that confidence, I think, that he gained and got out of the Giro, it did once again come from that self-belief. It was classic Jonas in terms of very calm, metered. He wasn't necessarily pointing for the fences, saying, I'm going to attack here and smash him here. He respected all of his competitors. Those first few attacks when him and Gall were going at it, he was very, very interested of how is he cracking him? Am I going?
Yeah.
Where is he at? He wanted the info from the radio. And then, you looked at that last week, just cracked it open, 10K out, just full send. So absolutely, when is as good as he ever could have imagined it going. I'm just happy he also came out of it safely. We look at the Giro is just filled with drama and crashes every year, like many races in pro cycling these days. But we talked Tadej Pogačar, Team UAE. What a tale of two teams in terms of the Giro d'Italia and their GC ambitions, wiped out in the first week for Team UAE. And I got to say, when Jonas talked about the Giro, how it's good for 2 Grand Tours and he builds and he gets stronger, well, we don't even have to debate that. My first worry was, I don't know if he's going to make it out safe. There's just so much that can go wrong in 3 weeks of racing, 21 days. So really template perfect version for Jonas coming out with confidence. And I can't imagine a better scenario for him going into the Tour de France. Whether or not that's going to allow him to meet the challenge of Tadej Pogačar, we can talk about that and debate that. But up to now, couldn't have gone any better. If he was going to script the season to June 1st, this is it. It's looking great.
Yeah, agreed. And well, let's talk about UE a little bit, or, with that big crash happened in stage number 2. I believe it's stage number 2. It seems like a year ago. It was pretty much a month ago, but that was bad. I mean, it was a high speed crash, going through that right-hand corner. Half the team just went down hard. Narvaez went down hard as well. Jonathan Narvaez, who went on to have an incredible Giro with 3 stage wins. What a stud he is, really just flying the flag for UE afterwards. But unfortunately, Jay Vine and Adam Yates being taken out of the race from that crash. And so that's another asterisk as well. We never got to see Adam Yates in full flight. That would have been the guy who would have been up there shoving Vingegaard a little bit, at least on paper. Pellizzari got sick as well, so we never really got to see him. And in fact, I'll go a little bit deeper on Pellizzari. I think that I don't think he should have finished the race. I think that with a young talent like him being at half mast for more than half the race, I mean, what are you accomplishing here? Of course, you're trying to get on the podium with Jai Hindley, and they did that, and so that was fantastic. But I think when you have those younger guys, you have to keep the winning mentality alive in your head. And there's enough time in your career where you get your teeth kicked in. But if you have those generational talents, you have to keep them fresh and evergreen. Like that, you could win at all times. Case in point, the conversation we're having about Jonas here, having that confidence going into the Tour de France. Anyways, that's another talking point later on. And then, but with UE, they did a great job. I mean, but to your point about being safe, that was the biggest question going through here. I mean, you take a risk in everything you do. So if you don't do the Giro, then you have to train so much harder. And are you going to be on the same wavelength as Tadej? And if you need to change something, obviously everything else wasn't working over the previous couple of years. You need to change something at some point in time. So I applaud them for taking that risk to go in racing a very archaic Grand Tour, one of the most archaic Grand Tours there is. And so they got through it, and he's got his triple, which can't be said by too many people out there ever. I mean, one of the greats of all time. It was crazy to see the list of people who have done the triple, and how, it didn't happen too often. But then in the last couple of years, with Froome, Alberto, Nibali as well. So it's been a decent amount of people, at least since we were in the sport. But anyways, hats off to him, like you said. And then everyone else, though, I mean, was there any surprise? Derek G was caught in that crash as well. That was unfortunate. And Derek did a fantastic job coming all the way back. And speaking of the triple, let's talk about him for a second. Sepp Kuss, man. How cool is that? Okay, we're 1,000,000% biased on this one, but it was so cool to see him up there. And his mom just got there. I want to say she got out of the car, off the airplane, straight to the finish line. And then you see your son with your hands up going across the line. So, when seeing Sepp and doing that very emotional interview afterwards, I was just let it go, man. You're obviously just on the brink of tears. When's the next time you're going to be winning a Grand Tour stage that your mom happens to be at the finish line of? So really cool to see that.
Incredible. I love it. I so love that. Yeah. One of my racing memories from racing with Sepp on the national team at Worlds one year is his mom also being there, and her telling us, just gushing over her Seppi and how proud she was of him and how she just couldn't believe he's racing the world championships. And just so heartwarming and lovely to see parents connect with the sport and their children and what they've all invested in this journey they've been on. And that finish line interview from Sepp was really heartwarming. Speaks to the sacrifice and the time away, but still at his core, how much that family and those friends mean to him. So yeah, what a moment for Sepp, his family, his mom, her Seppi, and and what a stage to do it in too. I mean, that profile of that stage through the Dolomites, Christian. Oh my gosh, you cannot craft a more twisted stage for the third to last day of the Giro d'Italia, and in true Sepp fashion, just back there chilling in the break. I feel like the announcers and the commentators and even myself as a spectator almost kind of forgot about him in there. Just was so stealth and just floating back there, and then right when it matters, the big show on the last climb. Just
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Ciccone wanted it so bad, and he's so passionate. He's
He
throwing
was
his hands up in the air in full Italian style, and he's desperate, which is pretty much what he was. And I get it. And that, to your point earlier about the difference in the Giro, it's so much passion going on there. I mean, the most passionate racing you'll ever see, and that's when you get into that side of it. That's really cool. Well, that's what you don't get to see. Where Tour de France is a little bit more business. This is the highest level of sport. It's business. We need to make them. We need to execute. Where this is for the love of the game, man. This is street ball. We're going deep in this one. But back to Sepp. The reason I brought him up, which I neglected to say, the reason I brought that up after I said the triple with Jonas, same thing goes with Sepp. He ticked that box of having a stage win in every Grand Tour as well. And this is a dude that you give him the green light, and he executes almost every single time. All right, we're going to give you one chance to get up the road and go for the win here. Got it.
Just today,
Put me in, coach.
I'll do it.
I'll get it, and he does it. I mean, remember this stage in the Tour de France, beating Valverde of all people. I'm like, oh, this is not good. You got to drop Valverde and on the descent all the way from. No problem. I got this in the bag. And then, of course, what he did in the Vuelta, we'll never forget that, of course. And then I think it all the way back, even in the Dauphiné, I think after Primoz crashed out, give me the rock, coach, in, wins again. I mean, this guy, it doesn't happen. You always think like, oh, well, Brent crashed out. Christian, you go for the win now. Wait a second. That's not part of the game plan. I didn't train for this. And then Seth makes it look easy, but it is definitely not easy. We see with sprinters all the time. Okay, now we'll go for the lead out guy. It's not how it works. It's not a video game, So it's really fun to see Sepp get others very emotional. It was really cool to see him do this. And he's a guy who's going to be in the Tour de France as well. What do you think about his, as far as the team in Visma? I'm thinking of three guys in particular who are going from the Giro. I'm thinking about Jonas, of course, Victor Campenaerts, and Sepp Kuss. And really that team bonding of all those guys as well. And knowing that you could rely on these guys and they're going to be there when you truly need them at every time. My only hindrance is that, this is a great team, but it always seems like UAE is even better. Like almost every time. I mean, case in point, like half the team crashed out. Even Jonathan Narvaez, it was pretty funny, not funny, but like when they had a big crash, man, he had no fabric left on his butt, and the TV camera kept on showing that. I was like, oh my goodness, this is only in this sport. Could you see this? But that he dusted himself off and did a fantastic Giro, showing how good he could be on any kind of terrain. So anyways, the reason I'm asking this, what do you think about their team going into supporting Jonas versus UAE?
Yeah, if I had to, as you're saying that, Christian, I'm like kind of crystallizing the picture. If I had to create a generalized sort of like image or assessment of those two teams, I think Visma Lease Bike, in terms of their group and cohesiveness and this almost like more like sentimental family facet of the team and really feeling it, wanting it for each other. I'd argue that even the adversity they've been through, having been defeated at the Tour de France the past couple of years, has even made this recent experience at the Giro d'Italia even more rewarding. And I think that's becoming even more and more like their strong sort of characteristic and their strength, if any. It's really, it really seems like they're very much there for each other. And I'm not saying the UAE riders are not. And where I see UAE, that vision of that team is sort of crystallizing is just the firepower, just like the raw talent. But I don't necessarily detect, or I'm not hearing the same sort of like emotion and togetherness and camaraderie. They're united by, arguably Tadej, the greatest of all time, which is a pretty sweet point to be rallied behind, and a big budget. They're all professionals. So the tale of the UAE at the Giro is a testament to their depth, right? Like lose 3 of your best riders on the team, 4 of your best riders on the team, doesn't matter. We still got a handful back here that can just assassin one-man show and just start stomping stage wins. So such depth, but I think Visma Lease Bike and Jonas's team is right there with the talent and ability, and maybe even a little more there in terms of the cohesiveness and togetherness. But I still don't know. I still don't see Jonas beating Tadej head to head. I only see Tadej winning if the Tour beats Tadej somehow. But that's we're there's weeks and weeks we're going to be bashing out that conversation. But I like Visma Lease Bike right now in this momentum that it gives them. Really, really strong position. They can really have a real quiet for everything that they invested and that energy they had to spend and that focus they had to invest into winning the Giro. Well, then now they get to really reap the benefits of it, and they get to just let everyone sort of calm, really meticulously, calmly select their Tour de France squad. And Tadej, like, we're gonna see him racing again in June. We got Adam, Jay Vine, both piecing themselves back together, recovering from injuries. So a little more variables at play with UAE right now, but obviously still just so stacked. I mean, they could just close their eyes and grab 7 guys off the roster to support Tadej and be like, huh, yep, world class, like best of the best, like hard to match them anywhere. So yeah, they're both going to be there and ready.
Yeah, we almost have 5 weeks still to go until July 4th, that kickoff in the team time trial. So you got a long way to go, to your point. Speaking of teams, though, we talked a little bit about Felix Gall. First of all, fantastic ride. Didn't really ever see him being contender, especially when we had the show on before. We didn't talk too much about Felix Gall going into the Giro d'Italia. I think he surprised a lot of people. Maybe not internally inside his team. They most likely knew what he was capable of. He was one of those guys who was almost like a one-hit wonder at times. Just incredible. One day in the Alps or in the Pyrenees, you're like, wow, this guy, he's good. And then he would not be there. He would falter a couple days later and just not be at the same level that he was, or coming out of a breakaway and just dismantling everyone in the breakaway. But he said that he trained harder than he ever has. Obviously, the team has stepped up big time over the last couple of years. And now with Paul Sextus, who I mentioned earlier, this team is getting better and better, obviously. And just like there's been a lot of emphasis put on Lidl Trek as well, I would put them in the same boat, maybe even a little bit higher. I mean, Lidl Trek had a rough Giro, but let's not say that they did not. Yeah, they were trying very hard many times. Jonathan Milan, thank goodness for everybody's sake, he got that W just yesterday in the last stage of the Giro. But yeah, I'm looking and I'm excited to see what decathlon is. Actually, I just ran into one of my French friends in Manhattan, Jean-Francois, and we were talking about Paul Sextus, and he's like, man, the hype is real over there in France. Everyone's talking about, when you're on the cover of L'Equipe and all the sports magazines and the newspapers, it's always a big deal. And so, yeah, it's a big deal. That's if I think of anything negative about Paul, it's about how much scrutiny and pressure internally in France is going to be. So if they can protect him and the French people actually protect him, so that's what I'm excited for. What do you think? I mean, I was talking to Bob yesterday on the way to the airport, and I'm putting Paul. I mean, I don't think this is crazy, but at the same time, as I hear myself say it, I think it's crazy that I'm giving. Okay, if I'm crazy, just call me out, man. I'm thinking Paul is like a strong guy to be second place to Tadej at this point in time. Is that nuts?
It's wild for how young he is, for being an untested rookie at the Tour de France. Yeah, I think this is he's on the fast track, no doubt. What I like about Paul Sextus and what he has going for him is the team. We talk about decathlon. There's definitely some Frenchness, and there's some culture, and there's some roots in there. But
is that
arguably
negative?
No, but I think for him as a French rider, it's good. Usually it is a negative. Like we talk about a lot of the recent French phenoms where this hyping and touting of the next great French hope has sort of gone poorly or buried these guys a little bit. It often is within these hugely French, a little more traditionalistic organizations that I feel like don't have the support and sort of scaffolding erected around these guys to provide performance support and resources, but also sort of temper the Frenchness with an international blend. And I like what they've done with Felix Gall in that they have developed him. They essentially took him from a rider that always was just off the charts physically, physiologically, had the climbing engine, but as you said, a little lacking in consistency. Needed to probably improve his time trial, needed to improve his racecraft, his tactics, his aggressive riding, and absolutely did. And he just comes out with second at the Giro. And thinking back to the first week, listening to some interviews that Heinrich Hausler, one of their directors, did with the cameras, they were backing him by then. They were really saying team switched on, everyone's rallied around him. We're here for Felix riding the podium into Rome, and they did it. So I like that. I think that also bodes really well for Sextus in terms of a Tour de France GC bid in the first year. But that said, Christian, just once again, like contrasting Giro Tour, the Tour de France is just a beast unlike anything else that
Yeah.
even
Different
yeah,
animal.
like attacking Tadej in a 1-day race like Strada Bianca, riding to the line with them, cleaning up another World Tour peloton is a totally different beast than showing up to the Tour de France. So I'm excited for it, and I think he's going to be in it. And I just hope that the French public can also see him for more than just that, like, because he's almost like a young kid. And I know all these riders are getting more professionalized and more into it every year, but so much career ahead of him, and the worst thing for him would just to feel the weight of disappointment or failure from the nation of France. But I like at least that he has this international organization around him, and has really risen to the occasion and shown themselves worthy of this role as one of the best teams in the Grand Tours, along with UAE, along with Red Bull, Bora, along with Trek. These are the teams that seem to be putting the pieces together, obviously have the talent and they have the budgets. They're scooping up expensive, high value riders, but they're also figuring it out how to support these guys. And Derek G, even 5th place, maybe not the full potential ride that they would have thought for him, but think of everything that he went through and all the resources they invested into Milan through the full 3 weeks too. Also really solid. So yeah, you still put UAE, Visma Lease Bike clear at the top of the GC podium, but underneath it, I like what we're seeing in terms of the competitiveness of these other squads.
And that I think we need that.
Yes, absolutely, we need it. And speaking of them, Red Bull Bora also on the podium at the Giro. Jai Hindley, I think, delivering big on the leadership opportunity there, and co-leader, like you said, with Pellizzari through the first half of the race, first 2 weeks. But that's a strong ride, like really confirming of Jai. But I'm looking at the Tour de France with them, and I'm kind of still like scratching my head, like, how's this going? Like there's the Remco factor, and we got Lipovitz, and like it's still, to me, that team looks a little messier than Decathlon, even than Trek, and for sure than UAE and Visma Lease Bike. But what do you think about that other team that we put up there in the upper echelon of this GC discussion, off the Giro and into the Tour?
Yeah, I mean, I like talking about what they're doing over at Red Bull. That's a project, just like in many other teams, and you're thinking about taking a foundation of riders and growing them within your organization, or using your paycheck, using the checkbook. Then that's a little bit of the latter with Red Bull, obviously, because they're starting up and they have a massive injection of cash, and then they have the backing of an incredible organization to help and foster this talents when they get them in. But it's different, right? I mean, when your leader is Remco, he's an incredible bike rider. He could do amazing things, obviously, in the time trial, 1-day races these days. He's got some punch. The biggest problem is, like, when you're seeing these kind of times and numbers on these climbs, I just don't see how Remco could be able to do that. I just don't. I mean, no shade on Remco at all. It's just that this is just any other era earlier, he probably would have been able to do a lot more with it. But right now, it's not going to be easy for him. So I don't care what kind of team you have. You can't push your leader up the climb when these guys are firing off big attacks. So, yeah, I mean, the team's awesome. And I think it's going to continue to grow and get better within that organization, especially with now that they have they got the junior team, they got the under 23 team, and they're going to be able to bring all that talent up into the ranks, and they're going to foster that kind of talent like we were talking about earlier. But I think they still need a minute until they find that next, and that's going to be the biggest hindrance with a lot of these teams. Or, if you do find that a prodigious talent like Paul Sextus early on, oh man, you got to hold on to him with all your grip, because everyone's going to try to come after him big time. So it's a weird place to be in cycling. I mean, we talk about the NIL money in college football, and not even going to high school. Every recruitment, the same thing goes with cycling these days. You're looking at guys through Instagram and social media, trying to get in touch with these 16, 17-year-olds, just making sure that you get your grip on them before somebody else does.
First dibs.
Yeah. I'm excited. The end of the story is that the more teams that we have on the same level, the better the racing is going to be, and the better the product is going to be for us watching at home. We don't want to just see one team walking away with it. You don't want to see just the Yankees with the best lineup ever. We don't have a salary cap. We're most likely not going to have a salary cap anytime soon in cycling. It's all found money, so you don't want to put a cap on that either. And UAE has risen the bar for everybody else. Brent, your team was the problem back in the day. BMC, you guys destroyed everybody. You had a massive checkbook, and we're like, shit, what are we going to do now? And so, but everyone had to come up. And so, in hindsight, you have to really thank big organizations like that, because without that, we'd still kind of be stuck here. And everyone had to keep on raising the bar. And we're seeing a big raising the bar as of late. So we love to see that. We would love to see Ineos raise it even higher again. They've been kind of just being beat up sideways in the Tour de France for the last couple of years. So we'd love to see them come up a lot more than even we saw in the Giro. They had a great race. They did good with Aaronsman, and it was good to see Egan Bernal back up there in the top 10. But we needed a couple more steps to be where they were in the Froome and Egan and everything, when everything was going perfectly for them.
True. Yeah. I think, on the way back. But again, like we talk about what we're carrying out of the momentum out of the Giro, not looking back as much as we are looking forward. I think for Ineos, it's also quite strong. And Demon Arnsman putting together the real consistent 3 weeks, like having a bit more of the, I guess, like just a consolidation of that leadership role and shouldering it nicely. And the Tour de France is a whole other beast, but they're also coming, I think, out of this like encouraged. I look at all these teams, especially these teams in the top 5, 6, as it pertains to the Tour, the momentum that can be built, or the momentum that needs to be created. A lot of them are in a good place, and they're trending really nicely and looking really strong. One of the teams, not GC, that we haven't talked about, Christian, the sprinters, one of the revelations of this Giro, and Paul Magnier. Were you expecting this? I felt like I was sleeping on this a little bit. I into the Giro, I would have said, like, I think he's good for a stage, but this is another one of these, like, how many? He's still on. He was just the smoking red hot, on fire sprinter card, as we see these sprinters catch fire from time to time. But tell me you were more cued in and you would have called him for more than one.
Yeah, I would not have called him for more than one. I thought a lot of it was going to be Jonathan Milan show yet again. But the way he raced immediately, like, ooh, these guys are in trouble. This guy's going to be a problem going forward. The way his poise in the last couple of kilometers and his sound bites as well. I think we talked about that last time, or the TJ, I forgot which one it was. It's been a minute, but what he said about being able to sprint, giving him the ability to have, like, open the doors a little bit, but maybe wasting a little bit more energy than some of the others would, who are the pure sprinters, the Dylan Groenewegans, Milans, who are sit on the wheels a little bit longer. They have 500 more watts underneath the hood than Paul does, but it doesn't matter if there's somebody in front of you or boxed in, where Paul's already sprinting. You're got your hands on the brakes, or you have to go around a guy and stop pedaling for 1 second. He's gone. So 22 years of age, man. He's a killer. And he's going to be a killer for a long time. He reminds me a lot of Alessandro Patacchi. A lot of him, like, not necessarily like the most wicked fast guy you've ever seen, although they're both very quick. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But he's always there. He could get over some hills, and he's going to be here forever. I mean, I'm for the Tour de France. Unfortunately, he's not going to be there. Tim Miller is going to be there, but Tim's 12 years older than him, man. He's a lot. I mean, that's a completely different generation, all within the same team, having big talents. And I think Tim's he's gonna seal the deal in the Tour de France as well. I got a lot of confidence in that guy. So I think Quick-Step is kind of going back to their roots, the Tom Boonen era of going for straight up sprints, and they're looking at that, and that's great. And I'm glad they adjusted as quickly as they did. I was pretty scared for them, after Remco and investing a lot in some of the GC riders, bolstering their squad, at least for some climbing guys, and then, what are we going to do now? Now Remco's not here. We got more cash, but we don't have the riders. So I'm glad that they adjusted so quickly. And the sprinters, it's not easy. And I would say that's the one thing. In the Giro d'Italia, the sprinters, there's always a pretty stout field there as far as sprinters goes, even though they didn't get the opportunities. And even if they did opportunities, there's some suspect, let's just say, course selection going on there of what was going on in the finales, but that's a Giro.
On your toes.
I'm excited about this guy. I think he's going to be around for a long time. He showed himself, and as far as our ongoing conversation about confidence going forward with sprinters, it's everything. It's even more so than GC riders any day of the week. So if you have that swag about you, you know that you could do it and execute on the day, then this guy's going to have an incredible next 10 years of his career.
Yeah, absolutely. On fire right now. It'll be interesting to see him evolve into this now when he goes into any sprints. Really, I think from now on, he's won a lot of races before, but really a big coming out party for him. And now he's going to have the bullseye on his back, and other sprinters are also going to be racing against him in the future, analyzing his weaknesses, looking for any flaws, just not trying to do their best sprint, but trying to beat him specifically, as that happens with all the great sprinters. You have to figure out how to beat this guy, not just do your best sprint. So yeah, that'll be the next evolution of Paul Magnier. But what a coming out party at the Giro. That was something. And the youth, yeah, it just blows my mind. Just yeah, the Peloton is not getting any older. That's for sure. It just seems to be
French Renaissance, my friend. French Renaissance, and it's cool to see. Going into the Tour de France, I mean, the biggest question, though, I mean, about everything else is, like, first of all, you stated, like, it's a different animal, the Tour de France. No one's going to question that. And the difference in the Tour de France is always the drubbing that you take before you even get to the mountains, how hard it is to get into the breakaway, the average speed before that, the pressure, everything that goes on outside the race as well. So it's really hard to compare any other race to the Tour. It's in its own category. And there's riders who perform better in these other races, and there's riders who can't perform that well in the Giro, who always do really well in the Tour de France, who always come up. But the biggest question is, like, is this going to be a benefit or a negative to Jonas? I mean, we talked about Jonas maybe dodging some big jabs there, or at least the issue at hand of going head to head with Tadej at the Tour de France. I did acknowledge, as you did as well, that you can't continue to do the same thing year after year as preparation goes and expect that you're going to be better. So I do applaud them for going and taking that risk and coming out with the W. So, I mean, it's already a win. I mean, if your training camp is winning the Giro d'Italia, wow, that's pretty great. So whatever happens at Tour de France, but it does give him a little bit of built-in excuse. So I'm asking you, do you feel that he truly is better and he's going to be able to raise the bar just that little bit going into the Tour de France?
I'll try to beat around the bush here. I think Jonas is giving himself the best chance possible. I think this is the best inbound Jonas into the Tour de France. Granted, we still are a month out. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to recover. He's got to polish it off. But this is, you look at the past few years, this is the best. This is the best he's been. This is the best we've seen him over the past few years. And not just from a physiological level, but also from a place of calm, a place of peace, a place of knowing his role in the sport, finding why he's riding and what means something to him. We saw some tears from him on the podium interviews in Rome yesterday. I don't think he's that good of an actor. I think those were real, authentic emotion, and I love that out of the guy. I love that he found this. Maybe, I don't know if it was like that in the beginning. I don't actually think it was. I don't think in the beginning he went to this team and was like, guys, it means more. It's going to mean so much to me if I can do this. I think there was some massaging and some tactics about, also in context of the Tour, let's do something different, like you said. But from that commitment developed a lot of passion, and he really did well with that. He honored it, executed on it really well. And if he can stay with that, carry it into the Tour de France, and also have the freedom of, like, his life, his career is not defined by winning the Tour. I think that actually in itself for him is a strength. He's got the Giro money in the bucket. He's got the Palmares of the triple elite company. Tadej hasn't even done that. That's one of the first times we can say that about this rivalry in recent years. Jonas does something that Tadej hasn't. All right, let's go. So I like where he's at, and he's still going to be up against it hard, as we all know, but it's as good as it's been in recent years for him in the showdown with Tadej. What do you think, Christian? Jonas, 2026.
That's our clip right there, Brent. It's the best inbound Jonas that we've had in years, and that's the truth. And there's nothing you could say about that isn't true. I mean, you think about the crashes, the hindrances that he's had in the last couple of years. The concussion he had at Paris-Nice wasn't as bad last year, but the 2 years ago with the massive crash that he had in Pays-Basque. So yeah, I think that's spot on, and I don't think you could say too much more about that. Whatever happens now, starting July 4th. I mean, you could go and you just recover at this point in time. I mean, I don't know, have you done the Giro double before? Have you done that back
Just
to back?
once, my first year doing Grand Tours.
Oh, your first year. Oh, that's great. I mean, I did it one when I was going for the GC and it worked well, but I never went for a general classification. So I'm not even close to comparing myself, and nor was I good on the podium. So I got 4th place in the Tour de France. These guys are going for the win. And so I didn't have that kind of pressure, but it does work really well if you are on the upswing. You go straight to altitude afterwards. You do another big exposure altitude, come back down. And then it's just fingers crossed, man. Is the body going to react or isn't going to react? So I have no reason to doubt that this plan is going to work somehow. And I think you brought some great points up, that this is the best inbound. And I think we could leave it at that, buddy. I mean, that's all we could hope for. We all want a good fight. I mean, we have some other guys. You're going to have Remco. We're going to have Ayuso. We talked about Sexas, Tadej, of course, and then Jonas are usually the ultimate, though, that talked about. I mean, this is a rivalry that's been going on for a minute already. I mean, we haven't had rivalries like this maybe ever in the sport that go on for so many consecutive years. So we'll see. I mean, it will not be as much of a rivalry, though, if Tadej wins again this year. Then it's more it's just straight up competition. Your rivalry means that you're going trading back and forth.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, well, then Jonas is just going to be parading out his red jerseys from the Vuelta, which Tadej doesn't have yet, and he'll be saying, "You got to go make it happen in Spain, buddy." But yeah, first things first, we got a big month coming up in July, and we got a few weeks till then. We're going to see Tadej back in action at the Tour de Suisse, and we're going to be catching up on all the race action, the speculating, the hype building, the form debriefing every week here on Beyond the Podium, and we're also going to have the Dauphiné live on Peacock every day. I think it's renamed this year. It's not the Dauphiné technically anymore, but Christian, you and Bob Roll are going to be bringing us some of the action from the Dauphiné. So when is the Dauphiné going?
Already?
It's this Sunday.
We got 6 days to go. Yeah, it's just this Sunday.
6 days till the Dauphiné.
And more importantly, we got Paul Sexas to see exactly what he's going to be made of. I mean, he just did a ridiculous training camp up in altitude. I saw some of his numbers, and he wasn't so far off of the meters climb in the Giro by himself while he's up at the top of the mountain. So he put some massive work in there, and this is part of the risk as well. Like we were talking about, you go race, you go train. Did I do too much? Did I do too little? You just never know. Obviously, he's flying right now, considering that KOM by himself going up Mont Ventoux that I mentioned earlier. So it'd be fun to watch him go out there and race. Again, we always get so hyped up about who's flying in the Dauphiné coming over the Giro d'Italia. I'm getting ahead of it this year and stopping that, because I always have to remind myself it is not the same. It is not even close to the same. The Tour de France is a different animal compared to any other bike race out there, and you see that day one. There's nothing like it out there, and I'm reminded on the motorcycle as well. But yeah, we shall see what happens. But I think that Paul should be able to go and dunk on him pretty hard, dunk on everybody else. But Ayuso is a big name that I'm looking forward to. We need, to my point earlier about the guys, or the teams, I should say, who have not been at the really tip of the spear that we need. And so we'd love to see a flying Ayuso. Matteo Jorgensen, who elected not to do Paris-Nice this year and changed more to the Italian side and do the Ardennes Classics, who crashed out in Amstel Gold Race. We haven't seen him since he broke his collarbone. I'm sure he's going to be going good again. So yeah, we shall see some really hard course, Brent. I went and looked at it and I was like, man, am I getting, first of all, I know I'm getting old, but at the same time, that looks atrocious. Like every day was just nasty. There may be one sprint stage is, yeah, and they do have some things that always, I like doing that race going into the Tour de France, because they always have a stage or two that mimics the same thing that you'll be encountering
Team Time Trial
in the Tour de France. And of course, the Team Time Trial. Obviously, it's not going to be a Montjuic, but at least you could go through the motions of doing the Team Time Trial. So I like that. And it gives you that confidence. And it takes maybe a little bit of the nerves down, because these days you don't get too many options to do the Team Time Trial. What is it, like we did in one Mallorca, like that was in January, and then again here in June, and then good luck.
Paris-Nice. Yeah.
No pressure, guys. Just go and get it together.
Millimeter from your teammate's tire at the Tour de France, stage one. Oh man, I'm getting excited for it, Christian. All right, well, we're gonna be tuning up ourselves, our commentary, our analysis, between now and then. We're gonna be listening to you and watching you at the Dauphiné. Christian, it's been a pleasure. And to everyone else, thanks for joining us on the Beyond the Podium. We'll see you next time.
All right, no more monkey business on the mom bike, okay? And be a good boy.
All right. Wheels on the ground,
See you,
Christian. All
bro.
right. See ya.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.